The readings today talk about the coming of the Son of Man. And so that's leading us to the idea of resurrection. And for that, I've just got to talk about quantum physics for a day. I'm going to keep it simple, though. All I really want to do is teach you two new vocabulary words: continuity and discontinuity. So continuity means continuousness. So in physics, one atom is moving along, hits another atom, and the other atom carries on its way. It's kind of like something happens because something else happened first. That's continuousness. And when you have continuity, and you have the right information, you can know exactly how things work. You can anticipate the future by knowing about the past. And that's pretty cool. And physicists are largely dedicated to that very idea. And then there's discontinuity, which is the opposite. It's when something unexpected happens, something that we didn't measure or we're not able to measure. A surprise, you might say. And physicists aren't well known for liking discontinuity, right up until about the turn of the last century, because it had proven tricky to describe exactly how an electron moves and emits light. They don't seem to follow the rules of motion the way other things do. And then in 1913, exactly 100 years ago, a scientist by the name of Niels Bohr found a way to make it work. He said, instead of the electron moving continuously in an arc and emitting light continuously, nonstop, what if they only emit light when they jump orbits? So if I'm the electron, that makes the alter the proton, and these stairs are my orbits. So think of them as levels of energy. Bohr says that as long as I'm on one orbit, I'm stable and I'm not emitting any light. So I'm technically invisible right now. But as soon as I jump orbits from one to the other, that's when I emit light. And when he did this, the math worked out, everything made sense, as long as one thing was accepted. This is the tricky part. This theory only works if the electron jumps from one orbit to another without traveling in the space between. The electron has to teleport from point A to point B. And that's radical. That's bizarre. The world shouldn't work like that. So it's okay to be confused. I don't really understand any of this, and I've tried. In the last 100 years, this theory has been revised and edited, and we've got new ways to explain how electrons move, different models and all that, but the same problem exists. Very, very small things move in very unpredictable ways. And ever since that time, we've had to ask ourselves, is reality continuous or discontinuous? Einstein thought it was continuous. Bohr thought it was discontinuous. I assure you, the debate continues today. And so with resurrection. That's also bizarre. How can we begin to think clearly about something so complicated? And it helps if you can think of continuity and discontinuity at the same time. Now, I'm challenging you on that. That's not easy, to think of order and chaos at the same time. But it's worth the brain power because we need both of those things. We need continuity, the idea that the past has some stake in the future. If we don't have a sense of continuity, we don't have any real reason to care about the world or anything in it. When I think of people without that, I think of the people that say, you're either praying to God or you're wasting your time. Because nothing here matters. Getting to heaven's the only thing that matters. All of this is immaterial. I can't believe that God would want us to spend our time like that, distrusting everything around us. But we need discontinuity just as badly, because we're talking about eternity. That's not a really long time. That's where time doesn't mean the same thing anymore. It's something else. It's something different. It's something unpredictable. And if we don't have a sense of discontinuity, then our hope is really just in the past. In heaven as it is on earth, I don't even think that counts as hope. How could it be hope if you don't have trust in the future? Because when all of this passes away, are you still you? Absolutely. Are you going to have a body? Yes. It's in the creed, and it's there for a reason. Is that body going to be made of carbon and water and have 2 eyes and 10 fingers and all that? Maybe. But I don't know. None of us do. We don't know exactly what God has in store for us. And that's the heart of spiritual discontinuity. The fact that we don't know the future, even if we know the past. I'm talking about all this not as if it's new information. It's in the Bible, so we've been discussing this stuff for at least 2,000 years, probably longer. In the second letter of Peter, for those of you who are curious, and in those days scoffers will come, scoffing and saying, "Where is the promise of his coming? For ever since our ancestors died, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation." Are we just like them? Or do we have the courage to hope for something completely unexpected? I want to finish with one last thing. My point for this homily is have hope for this world and hope for something beyond this world. I could have just told you that, but instead I babbled about electrons for 6 minutes. And I did that for 2 reasons. The first is I just like analogies. I like teaching about things with other things. But more importantly than that, is I consider it part of my mission as a priest-to-be to help you all understand that the world is more wondrous and glamorous and mysterious than we could ever imagine. And all we have to do is open our eyes to see all of God's little secrets, because they're everywhere, even in the motion of a common electron.